What is going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about one of the newest Pokemon coming to Pokemon Go, Corviknight. This Pokemon is a Steel and Flying type Pokemon, very similar to what Skarmory was back in the day. Also has Steel Wing and Brave Bird just like Skarmory did, but unlike the old Flying and Steel type Pokemon, here we have Drill Peck as our secondary charge move. This move is obviously a much cheaper move than Sky Attack, which is what Skarmory used as a bait attack back in the day. Having an only 40 energy charge move here is going to give it 7-6 pacing despite the Steel Wing nerf, making it so it's even spammier than Skarmory ever was. Very similar stats as well, as we'll go over very shortly, but this Pokemon is looking like is a very strong Pokemon in the meta right now, and it's going to be a Pokemon that if you don't have the right answers for, it's going to be very hard to take down. The way that you actually get this Pokemon, unfortunately, is once again through the means of money. You have to either use magnetic lures, I believe, or eggs. 2 kilometer eggs should be able to hatch the Rookidee here, but it's kind of unfortunate, right? This is like the Pidgey of the generation. We have to pay to get it. That's kind of crazy to me, but it is a very strong Pokemon, so it will be worth it if you happen to have magnetic lures sitting around. I know I have like 20 ready to go. I'm going to try to grind out this thing as much as I can. At the very least, from lures, you can get good stat spreads. You want to go for as high a rank 1 as you can here, as once again, we'll look into the stats in just a second, but this Pokemon, you want to have a good one, and you want to get it as soon as you can. So let's take a look at Corviknight's stats here and how it compares to, let's say, Skarmory that we used to have back in the day. Here's Corviknight right here. We see 107 attack. Obviously, this is the default spread. Let's go for the rank 1. So more like 105 attack, which is a very bulky Pokemon. A lot more defense, or a lot more stamina rather than Skarmory. A lot less defense. We'll compare it head-to-head here just to see what exactly we're looking like. The rank 1 into rank 1 is going to be 105 attack, compared to 103, then 132 defense to 168, and obviously 152 stamina to 123. So you have more HP, less defense, and slightly more attack here, but honestly, having that bit of extra HP is going to help out a lot against one-turn fast moves, something that Skarmory used to really struggle with back in the day, because a lot of the moves like Lick, Sidewave potentially, still are going to do 2 damage to you, but you'll just have a much larger health pool to be able to just kind of work your way through those matchups. And if you want to actually go in and put them against each other here, we can check out Corviknight against what Skarmory currently can do in the meta, and we can see just how strong this Pokemon's going to be. Let's once again go for the rank 1 stats here, just so we can have the best possible look at what these Pokemon are going to do here. Go for the Great League meta, and check out how the win rates are going to be looking like. So very similar matchups across the board so far. Let's take a look at the overall win rate, though, and that is where you see the difference. Skarmory, being such a slow Pokemon, only has 18 wins and 19 losses. Corviknight, on the other hand, 25 wins and 12 losses. This is in the one-shield matchup, so you shield once, your opponent shields once, and because of Brave Bird, it makes it so you can go for baits, you can go for nukes as well. It is extremely powerful here, and because you're also so much quicker to get into your charge moves, sometimes you don't even have to go for baits. You can just outpace opponents going straight Drill Peck. So that was the one shield matchup. How about the zero shield matchup here? I would imagine this is very similar because they both have so. I have not looked at this before now. 29 and 8. What is that? 29 wins, 8 losses in the zero shield matchup. I'm gonna have to look through the Great League meta. I don't know if anything is that high of a win rate. That's scary. That is legitimately a monster. Wow. I'm legitimately shocked here. I have not looked into this before recording this video. That is disgusting. Um, we'll have to look into what actually can beat this Pokemon here in just a second. But wow, okay. That's the zero shield. How are the 2 shield matchups looking then? Um, so once again, so much better here for Corviknight than it is for Skarmory. This Pokemon 23 and 14 consistently in the zeros. The ones in the twos, it's just a powerhouse. Skarmory has the drawback of being a very slow Pokemon. It is still bulky, but Corviknight is not as slow. It has the bulk as well, and it has access to Brave Bird, just like Skarmory, which means not only are you not getting outpaced, you're outbulking your way through a lot of matchups, going straight fast moves for some Pokemon, going for Brave Birds, going for Drill Pecks when you need them. This Pokemon has all of the utility that Skarmory wished it had. I mean, let's just take a look at, like, I don't know, Galarian Corsola was added in recently, right? What is the win rate on Galarian Corsola? Do we see like a 29 and 8 win rate or whatever we saw with Corviknight here? No, it's 21 and 16 in the 2 shield. How about the 1 shield? 25 and 12, very good, but not single digit losses just yet. How about the zeros? And 23 and 14. Corviknight is going to be even better than Corsola, at least as far as the raw wins here in PvPoke. That is crazy. I don't know how that's even possible. Corviknight, a Pokemon that's not going to take any XLs, it's going to be a lot easier to get. It's going to be a nightmare in the Go Battle League. I am very scared right now. Grass types should be scared as well. This is going to be one of the hardest answers to grass types in the game right now. It's also going to be able to take out the Mud Slappers because you resist ground type damage. But with that said, I'm sure you just kind of pair Corviknight and a Mud Slapper together. It's going to be like the new Swampert Skarmory core. This is such a scary Pokemon right now. Let's take a look at what can even beat this. So going back into the head-to-head here, I think one of the best answers to Corviknight or Skarmory back in the day would have been Shadow Feraligatr. That's because you can do a lot of damage with Hydro Cannon, Shadow Claws add up over time, and again, Skarmory outpaced it quite a bit. But Corviknight, because it has that cheaper energy Drill Peck, let's see how it's going to actually go here. If we put these two against each other, Corviknight does end up losing the Zero Shield matchup, or the one shield matchup rather, and the two shield matchup, but you end up winning the zeros. And the one shields is very close actually, just barely losing here. You likely do land a Drill Peck. Yeah, you get them down to all of 8 HP actually, so this is a very, very close matchup for a Pokemon that's supposed to be a very good answer here. How about Galarian Corsola here? We were just checking this out a second ago in just the raw win rate with Corsola compared to Corviknight, but in the head-to-head matchup here, okay, Corsola does actually have a pretty decent time into Corviknight from the looks of it, but it is still going to be a very good matchup here for Corviknight, where it can still have play into it. The one-shield matchup, you actually do end up winning because Brave Bird is such a powerful move, but it looks like Corsola can kind of bulk its way through it, which is refreshing to see that at least something can hold it back, but of course, that is a very hard Pokemon to get a good one of. And then taking a look at, let's say, a Diggersby. We see Diggersby a lot nowadays. A ground-type Pokemon that has access to Fire Punch as well. Corviknight never loses to, actually. It's a very close matchup, but Corviknight is always going to win that. How about a Steel-type Pokemon, like a Alolan Sandslash? Surely a Alolan Sandslash can take at least one shield from it, or one shielding scenario. It doesn't win a single one. In all of the evens, the zeros, the ones, and the twos, Corviknight always beats Sandslash, a Pokemon that resists all of its charge moves. That is ridiculous. That is a Pokemon that I think is going to be a little bit overtuned right now. I think that Corviknight probably should not come out in this state, but you know, here we are. It's going to come out in just a week or so, and this Pokemon is looking very scary. Obviously, we're going to see some really good matchups for it, like Jumpluff here. Jumpluff into Corviknight. You literally never lose as the Steel and Flying type Pokemon. That's not surprising, but that likely means that Jumpluff is going to see a lot less play right now. And because of that, it's going to mean that a lot of other Pokemon might have a little bit more play. Water types in general should have a bit more flexibility with less grass types around. But also, there could be a lot of RPS. I'd be a little bit worried right now about a certain RPS triangle with like a Gastrodon, Corviknight core, and then an electric type or a steel type in the middle. That seems to be a situation that I don't want to see, but it could be the case. Like a Morpeko, for example, could fit in very well with that RPS triangle. Morpeko beats the Corviknight, Corviknight beats the Gastrodon, Gastrodon beats Morpeko. And if that's the way this meta is going, that is a little bit unfortunate. That's going to be a lot of RPS potentially in the future here. But we can see, at least, I would assume Morpeko's a good answer. Let's just make sure. What does Morpeko do here? Yeah, that's about as good of a counter as you're going to get. It makes sense. You resist all of the fast and charge moves here from the Corviknight. The 2-0 shield matchup here, you actually do end up winning as Corviknight, which, I mean, I'd be a little bit surprised if you didn't, honestly. Brave Bird, very strong move. Eventually stealings that up, but you do have to, like, double shield your Corviknight here to be able to even have a chance at winning this. How about Mandibuzz, another very bulky flying-type Pokemon? How does that do here? Corviknight always wins in the neutral matchups here. That is the thing that makes it such a scary Pokemon. It has access to Brave Bird. If you're not resisting Drill Peck or Brave Bird, you're taking a lot of damage there. If you don't resist Stealing, you're taking a lot of fast move pressure. This Pokemon has a lot of utility, but it's also a Pokemon that you have to hard counter if you really want to be able to beat it. Charjabug is a Pokemon that we saw a lot in the past to counter Skarmory. We can check that out. And yeah, it looks like in the Zero Shield matchup, very close. But you still always win as the Charjabug here. So that's good to see. Maybe Charjabug is going to make a bit of an uprising. We'll have to see, I guess. Electric-type Pokemon are a little bit hard to use in the current Ground-type meta, but because Ground-types are going to have to deal with Corviknight now, they might not be as common. But how is Clodsire even into Corviknight? I would imagine it's going to be very good for Corviknight here because we're resisting all of the moves aside from Stone Edge. Yeah, that is a... Oh, no. Yeah, it looks like the only time you're ever really going to win as Clodsire is in the 0-1 or 0-2 shield matchup. You don't even beat the Corviknight if you use 2 shields and they only use 1 shield. That is how dominant this is. And if we see a lot of Mud Slappers plus Corviknights, that means that Clodsire is going to have almost no play in the current meta, and I would imagine it's going to go away a little bit, which might open up a little bit of room for other Electric-type Pokemon, but because Mud Slappers are still around, that would mean that there's going to be still a lot of hard answers to those Electric types. About Shadow Drapion, we know Shadow Drapion is one of the most flexible Pokemon in the entire game. Corviknight says no, we're going to destroy you. It wins every even shielding scenario. Once again, that's just kind of how it goes here with this thing. If you don't resist anything it's throwing, you're not going to win the zeros because Brave Bird one-shots you. If you don't resist any damage, you don't win the one shields as well because these Drill Pecks add up over time with the Steel Wings. And 2-shield matchup, Do you even just Steel Wing down? Yeah, you just fast move this thing all the way down. That is so stupid. That is a Pokemon that might be a little bit too overtuned right now and could potentially be a huge problem for the meta if it's not reined in before it is released. I think the main thing that's making Corviknight such a powerful pick right here is the fact that it has access to that move Brave Bird. It's going to be getting Iron Head as a legacy move on release, so like if you can evolve a Corviknight within that first week of it coming out, you'll get Iron Head on it. I feel like they need to remove Brave Bird, just make it so Iron Head is going to be its coverage move of choice, because if it didn't have access to a huge nuke move here like Brave Bird, that would make it so it's not quite as good in a lot of neutral scenarios. We can take a look at that as well just for fun. How does it actually compare here as a Corviknight with Iron Head and a Corviknight with Brave Bird? Let's once again go for the rank 1 just so that we can see Corviknight at its best here. We have access to Brave Bird, but let's go for Iron Head instead, just to see if that could rate it in a little bit. Corviknight in the Zero Shield matchup, let's see how it goes here. And yeah, that is going to be a lot more reasonable, right? You have a 29-8 win rate, as we saw with the Brave Bird moveset, and then 20-16 with the Iron Head moveset. That's a lot more reasonable. It's still very good, but it's not able to win matches it really shouldn't be able to. As you can see, not having Brave Bird ends up making it so you actually tie with the Alolan Sandslash, or this is the Shadow, it looks like, actually, which isn't as common anymore. But B-Barrel, you lose. Clodsire, you actually end up losing to Clodsire in the Zeros if you don't have Brave Bird. You lose to Dugong, Diggersby, Drifblim, Feraligatr, Shadow Feraligatr, Malamar, and Mandibuzz. Those are a lot of neutral Pokemon that you somehow now lose to because you don't have access to one-shotting them with Brave Bird. I think that is a lot more healthy here. We can take a look at the next shielding scenarios to see if that's going to hold true in the 1s and in the 2s, but I feel like this moveset would be a lot more healthy for the meta than the Brave Bird moveset that it has right now. And yeah, it looks like once again, in the one-shield matchup, without having access to that nuke move of Brave Bird, you are stuck having a little bit less raw damage. It does actually help out against Shadow Alolan Sandslash here, I guess, because you actually have charge move pressure, but once again, that's not the most common matchup. But you do end up still losing to B-Barrel, to Corsola, Licky, Malamar, Mandibuzz, Shadow Quagsire, Pokemon that honestly you shouldn't have a great matchup into in the first place, especially like Shadow Quagsire. I'm surprised that Quagsire can't beat it in the first place, but with Iron Head, you don't even have a chance to beat it. I think that is going to be what you want to see as the moveset going forward. I hope Niantic, before it gets released, removes Brave Bird, because we don't want this in the meta. At least I don't want this into the meta. This looks like it's going to be an RPS nightmare, very hard to take down, and a very centralizing Pokemon. Let's take a look at the 2-shield matchup here. Honestly, where I think that Brave Bird's going to help out the least, because obviously the 2-shield matchup is going to be down to Fast Move Pressure and Drill Pecks, but we'll see. Does anything change? Actually, no, it's basically the exact same. Somehow you end up beating Licky, and you lose to Gastrodon. I'm not sure how that ends up happening, but I'm sure that's just kind of a little bit of sim magic here. Maybe you actually do need Brave Bird to knock out Gastrodon, which I guess if that is the case, this could be a lot more healthy as well. Make it so that there are ways to break through this Gastrodon Corviknight core, and I feel like this moveset with Iron Head would be way better to have rather than having Brave Bird instead. And that's just a couple of my thoughts here on the new Pokemon. I know it's going to be a meta centralizing pick. It's going to be one of the best answers to grass types in the game. It's not getting outpaced as much as Skarmory used to. And the worst thing about it is that the fact that it has a bait move and a nuke move and Steel Wing, which even though it's nerfed, it's still quicker to get into charge moves than Skarmory ever was. It's going to be a Pokemon that's going to be very hard to take down if you don't have a hard answer for it. This Pokemon as well, with that Steel and Flying typing, is able to hard answer a lot of Pokemon. The grass types are going to have almost no play if this thing's in the meta. And I mean, it's going to be a pick that everyone's going to use. Mudslap plus Corviknight Core is going to be everywhere in the Go Battle League. So I don't really know where this meta is going to go from here. I am worried if Brave Bird is going to be the moveset on this thing, that it's going to be much more difficult to take out than Skarmory ever was. And I think that Corviknight should probably be nerfed before it gets released. With that said, it's going to be a good Pokemon, and it's going to be a very accessible Pokemon, at least more accessible than, say, Corsola. I know it's an accessible Pokemon here because it will be more available in the wild than most. It's not a wild spawn, but it's a lure spawn, which means it'll have a lower stat floor, a lot easier to get a good one than like a Corsola, but it is still going to be a Pokemon that needs to be reined in my opinion. You can't really release it with this moveset, because if you do, either Brave Bird or Steel Wing's going to have to get nerfed, or even Drill Peck. I don't think Drill Peck deserves a nerf. It's a move that very few Pokemon have, and it's not even that strong of an attack. It's just on this combination of Pokemon, this is a very scary moveset. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, I'm going to upload a lot to the channel, both gameplay videos, analysis like this. Anything that is Pokemon Go PvP related will be on this channel, so make sure to subscribe. I'd love to see you in future videos. But thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.